Welcome into Pallilo Points. I'm Brandon Stranger Sports Matt Houston. That's Charlie Pallilo. You can catch him weekdays 10 a.m. to noon on ESPN 97.5, 92.5, or anytime on demand via your preferred podcast provider. And while you're watching us, don't forget to hit the like on the video, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and click that bell for notifications. Charlie, welcome in. As of this taping, the Astros have dropped 4 straight, getting swept by the A's, 3 straight Oakland. The sky is falling on Astros Twitter. The Astros are going to cough up the division to Seattle. The offense is dead. Ryan Presley has been exposed. Charlie, you have strong feelings about momentum in sports. And before we get into some of the more pressing concerns, let's get into some existential theory here. What you say? What does a 4-game skid really mean at this point of the season?
It means in their last 4 games, they're 0-4. It means they've ostensibly blown any shot of reeling in the Rays for the number 1 seed and home field advantage if we get to an Astros-Rays rematch. The Astros are 6 back with 6 to play. Now, the first 3 of those are against the Rays, so if you sweep that series, then you have the A's while they're playing the Yankees. That's stacking up a lot of hypotheticals. The one thing they could really blow if they crater this week is if they're opening the playoffs in Chicago. But they're 3 up and the tiebreaker over the White Sox with 4 to play. So realistically, the Astros are probably going to wind up where they were seemingly likely to wind up. That the offense was impotent or comatose or however you want to describe it in Oakland. 2 hits Friday, 3 hits Saturday, 9 hits, but just 3 runs on Sunday. All season long, we've seen that they can pulverize people and then someone flips the switch off on them for a game or 2 or 3 games. It's just part of the makeup of what is a very good but not great team. Well, they can be a great team for 3.5, 4 weeks and win the World Series, or they can be that impotent team and be out of the postseason by the 15th of October.
We do have to address a couple of key injuries in Brantley and Greinke. We'll get to Greinke in just a second. But from hearing Dusty speak about Brantley, it seems like there may or may not have been a possible setback last week. Do you think Brantley, does your gut say that Brantley makes it back in time for the Chicago series? And if so, do you see him hitting DH, which means Jordan's out in left field?
Yeah, I'm going to believe yes, unless they're slow playing the information, hoping to stave off that, he needs a scope and he's out 4 to 6 weeks, and that is that. But they said initially, it's just the 10 days rest precautionary, and we're at over 2 weeks and counting. Now he has another basically week and a half. They're opening Thursday the 7th. And while trickle-down economics can be somewhat dubious in whether it works, the trickle-down impact of the absence of a key guy, certainly 2 guys in the lineup, that is real. So if Brantley is out, as Jake Myers has kind of come back down to earth, as Chas McCormick hasn't slumped badly, but he's not as good as a healthy Michael Brantley offensively. Should Brantley come back, he should hit lower in the lineup. There's no reason you should push a Kyle Tucker, flat out their best offensive player now. It's not debatable, not by leaps and bounds, but he's their best offensive player and basically has been since mid-May. So I would not drop Brantley right back into the 2 spot. If he comes back, maybe you bat him 7th in that lineup in case maybe he has to leave a game early. Jordan in left field at Minute Maid Park. It's a small left field, and Jordan's been competent out there. Chicago, a bit bigger outfield. You'd have a little bit more concern, but it's not as if Brantley's a Gold Glover out there. And Brantley, you're not going to face many left-handed starting pitchers, but should the Astros face starting lefty, Brantley should sit because when he was fully healthy, and the guy's 2 points off the batting title right now, but almost all of that work, the good work's been done against righties. He's hitting over 350 against righties. He's not hitting 230 against lefties. So if you face a Carlos Rodon in the White Sox, or the Rays with all their mix and match stuff have a lefty out there, you probably shouldn't have Brantley in your lineup anyway. So I hope they're not just crossing their fingers that Brantley makes a miracle recovery and it's just a little slow with soreness and tenderness and 34-year-old knees, as opposed to, there's a meniscus issue or something like that.
Well, it's funny because Bob Nightingale was on with the bench on Monday morning, and they asked about this lineup. They asked about the Astros lineup, and Bob said, with Brantley in the lineup, they're as good, if not better, than every other lineup in MLB. But that is a big question. And fortunately, the outfield, as you mentioned, is one of those areas in which they have considerable amount of depth. But if Brantley can't play in the ALDS, do the Astros have enough offensive depth to sit him and still advance?
Absolutely. And again, especially in the short series of baseball, if Altuve goes 9 for 19 and Correa has a big series, the beauty of this lineup over the 162 games, if the right's not going to get you, the left will at some point, even with their funk stretches where they seem to not score more than 1 or 2 runs. The Oakland bugaboo resurfaced over the weekend where, you keep it close against the Astros, you're probably going to beat them. They're 27-33 in 1 or 2 run games. They're 64-32 in all their other games. Now, logic dictates a lower scoring or closer game. The lesser team has more chance to pull the upset. But the Astros can pulverize people when they're on, but they're very mortal. And their lineup has been shut down in dozens of games. If it happens in 3 out of 5, unless you get better pitching than the other guys, you can be out. That's why wild card teams can win the World Series in baseball. It's why the Giants and Dodgers, 100 wins plus apiece. Well, one of them is looking at one and done against the Cardinals team, which through the weekend had won 16 in a row. Postseason baseball is basically a glorified dice roll.
Now let's get to Zack Greinke, who has been, it's been a concern with him. His last 3 games, it's been a struggle. He's back on the IL again. We likely won't see him again this season. The White Sox have a dominant right-handed hitting lineup, which doesn't play well to Greinke's strengths. Do you think it's more likely now that we see Urquidy get that 4th starting spot in the rotation, or is Urquidy a weapon that's better used as a backup in the bullpen just in case Dusty has to hook Zack early?
I think Urquidy's the clear 4 guy at this point. Not that he's been spectacular since his return, but he's been pretty good. And I would believe more in Urquidy trending in the right direction. Whether Greinke hit a wall, 37 years old, and he was among the league leaders, major league leaders in innings pitched through August, or just a funk, the precision falls off a little bit where Greinke's stuff is at this point in his career, he's very hittable. Unless Dusty Baker just defaults to, I'm going to trust the veteran experience for at least one start, I'm going to trust the veteran experience. And Astros fans will always remember Greinke in Game 7 against the Nationals. Well, his postseason record in 2019 before that was spotty. And his overall career postseason record, right? This isn't a Curt Schilling or Jack Morris or John Smoltz type postseason resume. So I would think it's Urquidy. And the question then becomes, if you need a longer reliever who's not going to be Javier, well, what if Jake Odorizzi makes one more pretty good start this week? You might lean Odorizzi ahead of Greinke for that role. So other than Dusty, if he's going to go veteran, I would think Greinke's time pitching meaningful innings for the Astros, it's over.